Okay, guys, this is day 16, Monday, April 20th. Hopefully, you got the graph solutions and all good with that. What we're going to do is some word problems with this exponential growth. And the most, wow, what was that? The easiest thing or the most common thing is going to be money, because money grows exponentially. So we're going to do what's called simple interest, compounded, and you can compound. You can do it hourly, daily, monthly, whatever you want to do. And then there's something called continuous compounding. And these are all formula driven. So our simple interest formula is going to be A, which is equal to P times 1 plus R raised to the T. Now, usually with our money problems, we won't use this one. But when we start dealing with bacteria multiplying or populations multiplying, this is going to be the equation that we're going to use. With money, because there is no simple interest. Well, just a general problem for simple interest. If you invest $100 at 10% for 1 year. So basically, you give me $100 and I tell you I'm going to pay you 10%, and a year from now, I'm going to give you $110. Well, let's see. A, that's your ending amount. I'll write that over here with this one when I have more room. It's your ending amount. That's what I'm going to end up with. I don't know what I'm going to end up with. P is called your principal or your initial amount. And it can be written as A sub 0 amount at time 0. That should look familiar from some of the other word problems that we did. So my beginning amount or my principal is $100. That actually is 100% of what I started with, plus the rate. Now my rate, remember, is never in percentages. So I got to move the decimal over 2 places, 0.1, and raise to the time. With money, time is always in years. So that's going to be 1 year. So you're going to have to use a calculator on these guys. This one's pretty easy. That 100 is the very last thing you're going to multiply by. So inside the parentheses, I'm going to add those together. So it's going to be 1.1. Then I'm going to raise it to the power. Now, of course, raised to the first is going to be 1. 1.1 to the first is 1.1. And then you're going to take that $100 times that 1.1 after it's raised to the power and get $110. All right, that's simple interest. That's not how interest works. So out in the real world, it's compounded. And really, it's not even compounded daily, monthly, or anything like that. It's compounded continuously. But we'll talk about that one in a bit. Our formula here is A, the initial amount, P, the principal or beginning amount, times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT. So you can see it's the same exact formula, except the R is divided by N and the T is multiplied by the N. All right, so what do we have here? A is the initial amount. No, it's not the initial amount. It's the ending amount. That's what I've been saying. Ending amount. P is going to be your initial amount. And the reason P is there is because with money and investment, it's called your principal. It's what you put up. All right, R is your rate, obviously. T is time. And with money, time is always in years. Now the N is the number of compoundings per year. We're just going to have a clean page then for our examples. Now the continuous compounding is something a little interesting. It's going to deal with a number E, that you've never heard about before. And I'm just going to tell you E is very similar to pi. It's an irrational number. It comes from a infinite series, which is into calculus, and we really don't need to get bogged down with that. It comes from 1 plus 1 over 1 plus 1 over 1 times 2. Oh, if I remember correctly, 1 times 2 times 3. I'm pretty sure that's the infinite series plus dot, 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 dot. You add all that up, and this comes to an irrational number that we're going to abbreviate as 2.718. All right, so just as you use pi as 3.14, you can use E as 2.718. I will show you how to find it on your calculator, though. But if all else fails, remember 2.718. So the formula here is A is equal to P E raised to the R T. The A is still the ending amount. P is still your principal or your initial amount. E is that number, the constant, and of course rate and time. Okay, so get that stuff in your notes, and I'll be right here with a couple examples. Okay, so here's the first problem I'm going to do. We're going to take $1,500 at 3.5% for 5 years compounded monthly. So the first thing we got to figure out is, okay, which formula are we going to use? Well, I'm going to use the formula A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT. And what I'd like you to do is list all these A, P, R, N, and T. So identify all of your unknowns. Okay, A is the ending amount. I don't know what the ending amount is. That's what we're finding. P is my principal. Well, that's $1,500. Rate, well, 3.5%. Now remember, we don't use 3.5%. You got to be careful. Move your decimal 2 places. 0.035. And number of compoundings per year. Well, I'm compounding monthly, so that's going to be 12. If I were compounding daily, of course, that would be 365. If I were compounding quarterly, well, quarters. How many quarters in a year? It would be 4. Time is how many years, so we're at 5 years. So it looks like we have everything but 1, therefore we can solve for it. So the amount is equal to $1,500 times 1 plus R over N. Well, wait a minute now. Why aren't I substituting in here? R is 0.035 all over N, which is 12, raised to the NT, which is 12 times 5. Now, some of you are going to hurt yourselves with your calculator. Please don't do that. Play with your calculator. Take 3 and square it and see if you get 9. Make sure you know how to use your calculator. But do not try and type this all in at one time. I'll show you how to work through it, and then you can check the numbers you're getting on your calculator. Once you learn your calculator, yes, you can certainly type it all in. All right, the $1,500, that's the last thing I'm going to multiply by. I got to start working inside here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 0.035 and divide it by 12. Now, of course, we're going to get 0.02916666666. All right, then I'm going to add that to 1. So 1 plus this is going to be 1.2916. And then I'm going to take my 12 times my 5, which is 60. Now you got to learn how to raise a power. Like I said over here, some calculators, this is kind of old style, have y to the x, but you might have that. Some calculators, you have to type the 3 first and then this button and then y to the x. Some you have to hit y to the x and then I don't even know. But more commonly, especially if you have a graphing calculator, there's a caret button. That's what this is called. It's over on the right-hand side, or on some of the scientific calculators. You just have to find where it is. Type the number, hit the caret, put in the 2, and play with it and make sure it works. So we're going to put in that 1.02916666666 and raise it to the 60th power. And that's going to give me 1.19. And then multiply by 1,500, and my final answer should be $1,786.41. Please check your calculator and make sure that you know how to work it. A lot of these problems most students don't find any trouble with once they learn how to work their own calculator. Okay, I'm only going to do one more example. Like I said, I think the best thing for you to do is just practice with this with your calculators. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. But as soon as I read this problem, I'm taking $1,200 compounded continuously. As soon as I see compounded continuously, I'm going to write down A is equal to PE to the RT. Well, you can just think of PERT, the PERT test that you're not going to take this year. A is equal to PE to the RT. For 10 years at 5.2%, I'm going to list everything. A, P. I don't need to list E. E is a constant. R and T. Okay. So let's take a little break from this and also on your calculator, see how I can tell you how to find E. Look for an LN, but it won't look like an LN like that. It'll look like an LN button, and above that will be E to the X. It's usually second LN, E to the X. Again, you have to learn your calculator. Take E to the X, hit the E to the X button, and then hit 1, and then hit enter, and it should equal that 2.718, blah, 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 blah. If you got that, then you know how to raise E to a power. That's great. Remember how to do that. E to the first equals that. You're going to do that over here. All right. I don't think it's hidden in the menu on any other computers. That was a math and menu comparison. Ending amount. I don't know. That's not a 2. It's a question mark. I don't know what my ending amount is. The principal, of course, we're starting with $1,200. The rate, 5.2%. Can't use that. Move it 2 decimal places, 0.052. Time, always in years. We're simply going to substitute in here the initial amount, the principal, $1,200, times E, raised to the RT, 0.052 times 10. Well, if I take 0.052 times 10, I'm just going to move the decimal one place over, 0.52. Now I got to take on my calculator, E, and raise it to that. Remember that 1,200 is the very last thing I do. All right, so if I take E and raise it to the 0.52, I get 1.682, blah, blah, blah. Don't waste that blah, blah, blah. Leave it in your calculator. It is just more accuracy. All right, then take that and multiply it by 1,200. I get $2,018.43. Now remember, we're dealing with money here. So that's why I rounded the last one and this one to 2 decimal places, and please round properly. I will take off for that. All right, guys, I expect that you'll find these easy once you learn your calculator. So please do not hesitate to ask me questions. I'll help you with your calculator, but you got to ask. All right, guys, have a great day. Talk to you later.